Hello and welcome to the Leadership of Fools. We are back for a cheeky little part 2. We've still got the dinghy floating lazily in the harbour, and the two of us, are just back for more between season chats, a little bit of hiatus conversatus. That's what we're all about here on the Leadership of Fools.
I love it, Rick Brown, and you did mention the two of us, but we've been joined by a furry friend.
Oh, look, no lazy sail in the harbour is complete without a good furry friend to keep us company, make us feel like life is not so shabby.
So, introducing Digby, the Labradoodle, who's meant to be downstairs and has decided to come upstairs to the studio.
So we might be completely distracted this entire podcast.
Yes.
But geez, this is an unexpected podcast, Colin.
It is.
You've really you sprung it on us because of the wave of momentum that struck after the first little cheeky holiday podcast that we put out with all the a plethora of business insights, leadership insights that people had shared with us. And just more kept coming in, Colin.
Sorry, just as Digby shakes and heads back downstairs. You are absolutely right, Rick. In fact, I was genuinely delighted, proud, impressed. We have a number of people submitting their leadership insights. In fact, some of them said, I think we've missed the boat, but in the spirit of sharing these wonderful lessons with everyone. Yep.
Anyone stingier than you, Colin, they might have gone they would have said, too late, you missed out, you missed the boat. So, you had a deadline to get your insights in, you missed it. So suck it up. But you know what you said? You said, let's do another bloody podcast.
Yes, and I'm wondering whether that actually is my leadership style. It's, I talk a lot about accountability and holding standards, and don't necessarily live that myself.
Well, I think it's good, and I'm glad to be back here just ripping out another podcast. It's good fun.
So we tried to go with 12 last time.
Yep.
And you might recall that we didn't end up with 12. We did blow out. Well, this time we're going to be a fraction under. Ooh. I think we're aiming for 8.
8?
Yes.
Is that a hard 8, a soft 8? You reckon we're going to end up with 10 or 6? Or what do you reckon's going on here?
You never quite know when we're on air. So let's go with 8 at this stage.
Lock in 8.
We'll lock in 8.
With the 14 from last time, that's 22. So that's not it's a nice symmetrical number. It's all the 2s. I'm happy to go with that. But we've had 14. Here's the subsequent 8 that didn't quite make the first cut because they just weren't on time.
Right. So let's start with Nat Fian, the wonderful Nat Fian, who's been a guest on the podcast several times, and delightful to hear from you, Nat. In fact, this one, I almost want to just read it verbatim, just give you the whole piece. And Rick, love your reactions.
All right, I'm all ears.
So the leadership insight.
You got it.
Is women, your time is now. There's never been a time when the spotlight has been on gender diversity and equality as it is now. Mm-hmm. Women, now is your time. I've mentored so many aspiring female leaders, and the common thing that gets in their way is confidence. Women waiting for someone to tap them on the shoulder or give them permission or a leadership role. Ladies, be the person you want to be in the future today. Don't wait. Your time is now. Don't let a lack of confidence get in the way, because really, what are you waiting for?
Oh, gee, that is, that's almost a call to arms. I love it. And no one's better placed to talk about women's issues than us two guys sitting here recording a podcast. We know more about it than most people. Let me mansplain the situation for you, everyone. No, look, that really needs little explanation. She has laid that out for anyone to understand. I love it. Confidence.
What's particularly great for me is Nat was very passionate about us putting the Me Too episode in place, which was a very popular episode, and it was part of season 1. And it was actually quite a defining episode in terms of it was a moment where she literally just called me and says, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about it now. Mm-hmm. So much so that I've actually just re-released that podcast to make it easier and more accessible for everyone.
If anyone out there listening has not caught that episode, stop now, go listen to it, and then come back.
So in the spirit of this, that's number 1. Thank you, Nat. And in some respects, Nat, you've actually set the agenda for at least the next couple that are about to we're about to explore. So number 2 is from Melissa Donald. And again, I'm almost tempted to read these. They actually just, capture the moment.
Thanks, Melissa. Welcome to the podcast.
This year, I've been inspired by people being bold and standing up for their vision and values. And she's given some examples for us, including, and this is probably an Australian-centric piece, but
as it should be, because we are in Australia.
Yeah, it is the students protesting against climate change in action.
That was powerful stuff.
It's the men and women in Parliament taking a stance on gender equality.
Yes.
And to all leaders focused on the success and well-being of their people.
There you go.
So, my daughter Rose was super keen to go to the protest, the climate change protest.
But she had school, so she couldn't.
She had
You
school.
Said, sorry, you got to go to school.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the rules.
That's the rules, and the school actually did, play a little hardball around all of that,
Wow.
and she ended up.
You've got to call their bluff, Rose. You've got to call their bluff.
So I think it's fantastic, and I'm not trying to underplay that in any way. I think what we see in 2018, at the end of 2018, is a point in time where people actually care and they're prepared to make a stand around it, and you almost can't describe leadership any more clearly.
Yeah.
The ability for people to fight for a cause, to make a stand for a cause. I think
It's making a comeback, isn't it? Passion around issues. There was a sort of turn of the century, turn of the millennium malaise also, wasn't there? Everyone was just like, I don't know, it's the year 2000 now. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't care about anything anymore. But now it seems to start picking up again.
Yeah, no,
passion.
Yeah, I think you're right. There was genuine apathy at one stage.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, so we're seeing a difference. I think what makes this, and again, I'm sitting there trying to make sense of it. I think what makes it complicated is what issue to actually believe in.
Oh, just pick one. It doesn't even matter. Just
Really?
pick and stick.
Are you serious?
Oh, mate. Oh, just throw a dart at a board and just believe in something. No, you really should actually truly believe. I joke, of course. You can't fake belief. People have tried through the years. Never works. But once you do pick and stick, you gotta back yourself. You gotta back the cause.
And I'm going to apologise if anyone can hear Digby's
he's not on
dog
mic.
breath. Well, I can hear him just underneath me, he's going up and down. Up and down those stairs.
I feel like you had this sorted out last time we were here recording, Colin. But this time you've gone real loosey-goosey.
It's complete.
And this dog... so I reckon you're going to listen back to this episode and go, either we must always have the dog or we must never have the dog. This episode will decide your viewpoint on what you're going to do going forward vis-a-vis the dog.
And my apologies, therefore, to Melissa. I do... if this is the presence of Digby has any way underplayed the power of your message, but I think you're absolutely right. I am so interested and curious as to when this phase will move into the phase of normality, and what I'm saying by that is it's just a phase of genuine disruption, genuine confusion, genuinely really challenging, but we will actually find our water level with this. And I'm going to be just so curious where that's going to be. I am confident it's going to be better than where we were before.
That's the spirit, Colin. God bless your optimism.
Oh, thank you, Rick. Jane Sadler, number 3.
Tenterfield.
Yes, Jane Sadler, a wonderful consultant, a peer of mine. And this one actually, got me really, I don't know what the word is, maybe quite emotional, and I was quite moved by this one.
In your heart feels.
Yeah,
Got you in the heart feels.
There was a genuine heart moment there. So Jane actually reflected on her business partner and colleague, a person I also know, Karen Barr, who's also an incredible coach, consultant. And this year, Karen...
2018.
was a live kidney donor.
Wow.
To her sister Louise.
Oh, I mean, that is something.
That is something.
Need a kidney? I got one. Take it. What does it mean live? Like alive? What? I mean, because she's alive. That's what that means. I've thought it through. I mean, the words are there. They make sense. She's alive. And she gave one of her kidneys.
Yeah.
She had 2. Now they've got 1 each. Jeez, well, isn't that going to create an interesting dynamic
Tell me more.
in that sister relationship? You've always got that, just, there's always just that sense of, well, I did give you a kidney.
Yes.
So, every time Christmas comes around, you'd be wanting a pretty good gift, wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah. So
a gift voucher, that's nice. I mean, I did give you a kidney, so I don't know if you want to rethink the whole gift voucher situation. I just think there's always going to be a little bit of dynamic there, which is going to be delightful, and they can use that ad nauseum.
So here's me thinking this is one of the most selfless, truly
it's
inspirational,
one of the all-time great power plays.
truly
That's what it is, Colin.
generous, and it took Rick Brown to turn it.
I know how siblings work, mate, and this was just a classic power move for the sibling to always have the edge. Oh, siblings, you've done it again.
Oh, thank you. I'm
The Kidney Gambit is well known to give you the upper hand in a sibling relationship.
hashtag Kidney Gambit, hashtag Kidney Gate. We apologise to Jane, to Karen, and
everyone involved,
Louise,
the surgeons,
if we've in any way
the
underplayed
anaesthetists.
the true gift that this actually was.
I've made a mockery of the whole situation.
You have.
But it is my job, Colin.
That's true. You are the leadership of fool. So number 4, Jonathan Millen. So
What do we have her insight? I can't.
Oh,
Or was that just it?
Oh.
My insight is I gave her a kidney. That's not
you-
so much an insight as an operation.
Thank you, Rick. Because I
distracted you, Colin.
You
It
did
was my-
distract me. So again, I'll read verbatim around this. The act in itself is amazing. It's an act and gift of life and love. And during all of this, she demonstrated everything we teach and coach in our business: vulnerability, resilience, perseverance, humanity towards herself and others. How do you feel now, Rick Brown?
Yeah, I feel like I need to take a good long hard look at myself. And if anyone needs a kidney, I'll give it. No strings attached.
No strings
No
attached.
strings. No gambits. Nothing. I've learned a valuable lesson here on the podcast. A very valuable lesson. Take it all back.
Jonathan Millen, number 4. So Jonathan Millen uses a term I've heard before. In fact, I might even get into this with you, Rick Brown.
Right.
Feedback versus feed forward.
Ooh. I mean, it sounds good, but it's quite confusing. I'm not sure it means anything, Colin.
Yes, well, we'll reserve judgment just for a moment.
Is it the? If I had to guess, I would say it's because feedback has, I guess, in itself a negative connotation. You're going backwards, so it's the sense that what we're telling you is to propel you forward, not backwards.
Let me try to do your piece justice, Jono. It's the feed forward piece. 3-step approach gives everyone the ability. Sorry, let's take one step back.
It's already winning.
He's talking about
3-step approaches are always good.
A 3-step approach that gives everyone the ability to change perceptions and improve relationships and outcomes. The steps are:
Step 1, donate a kidney.
choose one behavior you want to improve on.
Okay.
Step number 2, ask your peers and colleagues for suggestions. Can't get that word out. Suggestions on getting better. And number 3,
Yes.
and I suspect this is the key moment,
Okay.
say thank you.
Oh, just a simple sense of gratitude. Gratitude is key to a lot of philosophical sort of ideologies. Having that sense of gratitude is a key factor in happiness and a lot of things. You see it all the time. Gratitude, show gratitude, appreciate things. So that makes sense. That 3rd step is probably much more important than you would ever even imagine.
And I think what I'm making sense of is it's probably the feed forward part is at least the sense of being proactive.
Yeah. And so feed forward, not so much. So feedback's about getting people's opinions and input about what you've done or are doing, whereas feed forward is about what you could do or where you want to head. It's nice. Well, it could catch on. # feed forward.
I like it. I like it a lot. In fact, let's spend just a fraction more on this. Feedback's been such a topic that you and I and your world of improvisation,
Banging on about it all the time.
we bang on about it all the time. And interestingly, I just met a new client, a great new client,
Hello.
over the last couple of weeks. And within must have been within 10 minutes, the topic of we're pretty crap at feedback.
You're not alone
We are almost, and this is the dilemma, we are too nice as an organisation.
Yes.
What sense do you make out of that one, Rick Brown?
You can feedback can fit into feedback is in itself not a nice thing. Like, it can be nice. There can be a niceness attached to it if it's being done in the right way. This is the key about feedback. People have the wrong idea about what feedback is, and I guess the vibe around feedback has that negative feel to it. Doesn't have to. You can be a nice culture and have a very robust feedback systems in place. Don't be afraid to be nice about your feedback. All feedback should be seen as nice because you're trying to do something good. Otherwise, it's not feedback. It's something else.
And you mentioned the word intent. What did you mean by that?
I can't remember when I mentioned the word, so I can't give you the context. Give me more.
So, in the sense of what really matters is the intent behind what you're trying to do.
The feedback. I mean, we always see feedback as something that's to propel you forward. So it's something that's to improve, or to reinforce things that are going well, or to change things that we're struggling with, and to just shine lights on different areas of our performance. And so the intent behind the feedback is always for improvement, to help. And so there's never that sense that it is nasty. It always is seen as nice, and something that you want, even if it is tough feedback, because it's feedback around that feedback, if it's given with the right intent, is going to help us, and we should appreciate that.
So
like a free kidney.
Yes. So I let me just pause and sit with this just a fraction longer. I think the challenge for organisations right now is to find a way to normalise this concept of feedback.
It's the holy grail.
It is. Yeah, and normalising it is in the spirit of what is actually our intent here.
Yep.
If our intent is we want to be a serious learning organisation, we just want to always be better, we want to lift performance, behave in a way that is in line with our values and where we want to go as an organisation. We want to offer our clients, our customers, an amazing seamless experience, and yet we're not seamless ourselves. All of that sort of stuff. It justifies at some level that you're normalizing this, making this just part of the way we do things. And yet, history tells us feedback, because it's clunky, clumsy, sometimes used for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
If I'm feeling down on myself, maybe I can, feel better by offering some feedback to someone else.
Yep.
If I'm I suppose the performance management system says I have to do this, I offer it in a token way. So normalizing it is the key, and I think there is ways of normalizing pieces, and it's not just about training. You're nodding your head.
Yeah, no, everything you're saying is making perfect sense, Colin. That's my feedback to you. Keep it up.
All right. Well, I'm going to, as a result of this, I'm going to continue, maybe on our LinkedIn company page, just continue to offer some of my thoughts and your thoughts, particularly from an impro world, around normalizing feedback.
Nuggets.
As we have a plane go overhead now in the studio.
Mate, it's good to have this sense that the world is still happening around us. We're not stuck in a bubble here recording a podcast on the Leadership of Fools. The world is still a vibrant place, full of technology. There's planes in the sky. There's dogs on the ground. There's things happening.
I like it a lot.
We're all connected, guys.
Number 5, Luke Jamison. So Luke acknowledges he might have been a bit late to the party. Well, here's your last-minute invitation, Luke.
Yeah, we made a whole new party just for you guys.
Absolutely, we did. And his emphasis, or his leadership insight, or his retro for the year, take a chance on your people and give them the room and opportunity to grow. Support them where they need, but challenge them where they can, where you can.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's exactly what we were just talking about in terms of what feedback should be doing. Support and challenge. That's and this is exactly the same thing he's asking you to do. And feedback can be a key part of that. I'm not going to keep banging on about it, but come on, everyone, get on board. But it's good. It's good insight from Luke. Support, challenge, back your team. I'm liking I want to be on that team.
So has the pendulum, and this is my guess, the pendulum might have moved too far from the hugely challenging 90s and maybe early 2000s,
Yeah.
like Just Perform.
Yep.
And now we've maybe gone too far on the support. Am I?
Yeah, you want balance. I guess that '90s vibe. It was an aggressive culture of challenge, really, wasn't it? It wasn't. There's ways to challenge that aren't that sort of over the top, adrenaline fueled, make or break situation. It's always got to find that balance. This is what I mean. We could look to meditation as a key. I haven't really mined meditation. I guess improv and meditation have very similar underpinning philosophies. So in many ways, mining improvisation for leadership insights is similar to mining meditation, but I reckon I could go deeper into it. I might meditate on it, and while I'm meditating, think about it, which is not really meditating, it's more thinking.
The smile I have on my face is that sense, and again, a theatre of the mind. As you listen to this podcast, I think one of the things that the listeners out there might reflect on for themselves is we live in a serious case of grey and ambiguity and tension.
Mm-hmm.
So the black and white sense of what is right and what is wrong. So support and challenge is a classic example of that. It's actually, and even the word balance doesn't quite cut it for me. It's like at times you'll bias the pendulum towards, I need to offer this person or this team more support.
Yeah.
And at other times, they're ready and robust and need new challenge.
Yeah.
So it's your ability to actually move along that continuum.
Yeah.
Number 6, Adam Ferguson.
AF.
So Adam joined us as a key host, actually, guest and host for the David Marquet episode.
Yeah.
And he actually revisits some of the lessons from that.
He's a bloody superstar.
And in fact, the lesson, he talks a lot about unintended decisions and behaviours really having an impact on individuals within organisations, particularly having them feel disempowered. And as a result of people feeling disempowered, we often slip towards more command and control.
Mm-hmm.
And so the piece that really resonated very strongly for Adam, and it's sourced through David's wonderful book and work, is that when you're about to work on empowerment, there are 2 factors that come first: clarity
And say thank you.
Clarity and capability.
Ooh, I love words that begin with C have a lot of clout. Clout starts with C.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I can only endorse, in fact, I just endorse so much the sense of clarity being the number one. Like, what are we actually here to do?
Yep. Clarity is key.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the goal? What's our purpose? What do we stand for? What are we about? And you cannot revisit clarity too much.
No.
And
always seek clarity.
Yep.
It's the number one thing, going back to improv, it's the number one thing we're always trying to achieve on stage is clarity. And anytime things aren't working on stage, it's because there's a lack of clarity around, the characters on stage, the relationship, the location. Anything that creates a lack of clarity creates tension in an audience. They start to worry about what's happening on stage and what the performers are doing. So as performers, we're always trying to create that clarity for the audience so they can be comfortable. Comfortable starts with C.
And is that, in fact, that's probably one of the first times you've said that to me, I'm thinking, and I'm now making sense of it. Is that played out through things like when you talk about working on the obvious?
Yeah.
So
and responding to each other and being aware of the audience experience and what information we've given them. And whether there's clarity in that, we're always seeking to make sure that if there's a lack of clarity, we can clarify that for them. And the audience is never more satisfied than when we provide them with a clarity that they didn't have before.
Yep.
Gives them a thrill.
Yep. Now the next one is capability before empowerment, and again, I'll only back this in 100% in the sense of you can work on your leaders, you can work on your teams. You can work on their behaviours, how they interact with each other, how they support each other, how they challenge each other, feedback, all of that piece. And if they don't have the capability to do the job, it's going to result in all sorts of weird behaviours.
Yeah.
Again, I can only see those things being combined at some level, but it makes sense to me that you would at least feel confident before embarking on any sense of letting go of control, that the team has absolute clarity and they actually have the capability to do what we're about to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not your team's fault. It may have been a lack of training. In fact, it could have been poor recruitment processes.
Yep.
But you are setting people up to fail if they don't actually have the capability to do it.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you, Adam. And please revisit that episode. That was an episode I wasn't part of, Rick. And
Colin Free.
Colin
It
Free.
was weird. I mean, made no sense to me being on the ship without Colin.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, we got by. I mean, there was a lot of good people on the ship, which helped. But I felt a little bit lost and alone without my first mate there.
Oh, gee. Oh.
But we got through it. And in many ways, it was the best episode.
Right. Thank you. Chris Carroll, number 7. Chris Carroll sent me a tweet yesterday, and it took me a moment to make sense of this. In fact, I'd argue it took me 24 hours to actually make sense of it.
Ooh,
so
conundrum.
I'm going to pose, in some respects, Chris's analogy or metaphor to you, and I'm going to ask you to guess what you think it might mean in the spirit of leadership.
All right.
So true leadership is the difference between driving a car and flying a plane.
All right.
So the wonderful Chris Carroll got us thinking, difference between driving a car and flying a plane.
So true leadership is the but which one's leadership? Is it the driving the car? Or is
No,
it
it's the flying a plane.
All right. Well, it's I mean, you're using similar mindset, I guess, in terms of it's you controlling a machine. But driving a car, I guess, is a simpler exercise because it's you're dealing with you're on a road. There's less things at play. There's less directions you can go. There's less things that can go wrong in a car, and all of that. Whereas, so it's I guess flying a plane is like next level driving a car, isn't it? It's like driving the car to the max. It's driving a car that can go up, down, in, out. You can do loops in a plane. Can't do loops in the car.
I'm trying to make you look good right now, Rick. I think there is something there. So let me just cut to the chase with it.
Yeah.
So Chris's point is that flying a plane requires you to make sense of things from a 360 perspective. It's happening all around you, vertical, horizontal, depth.
That's exactly what I said, Colin.
I think you did. Yeah, I was hesitating.
I basically said, Colin, you've talked it like I've missed the boat completely. I was basically flying the plane in the same direction as Chris. I'm his co-pilot. No, I guess I didn't phrase it as succinctly. He's got a very good way with words, our Chris Carroll. He's he can make things sound very, very clever in a way that I've never been able to do and never wanted to do. Cleverness is not my forte. I prefer it to sound a little bit confusing.
Right. So to keep going with the metaphor just a fraction further, so his sense is driving a car is you're always on that horizontal plane.
I said exactly.
And I said the word plane again.
That's,
I know we are. Oh, sorry. I feel like I haven't listened to you properly,
that's
Rick.
all right. No, you just assumed that I would be off the mark, and you've just gone with that agenda, and I'm happy to yes and you, Colin.
Okay, thank
but
you.
when you listen back to this podcast,
I
think
am
you're
going to
learn some
be
valuable
embarrassed,
lessons.
ashamed, and now in fact, the more I look at this metaphor, I think it's actually.
No, you back it in. Back it in.
I back it in. No, it absolutely. There's something to it. Something quite profound.
Yeah.
Quite profound. So, number 8.
This is the final one, Colin.
It is.
We've raced through.
We have. And so let me plant one just off the cuff for you.
Oh, I like it.
If we do go with a number 9, it
what?
might be your own reflection from the year.
Ooh.
But we'll come back to that. There may or may not be a number 9.
Question without notice.
Yes, because
these other people had weeks to think of
they
this.
did.
All right,
They
you
did.
Just lay it on me with 5 minutes to go.
I'm glad you're an improviser. Number 8. We revisit Nat Feehan
Ooh.
who found it very difficult to only come up with one, so she came up with two.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt extremely comfortable offering this to the world as well, because it culminates, in fact, in some respects, puts this beautiful bow around what Leadership of Fools has meant for us over the year. So again, I'll read this one. Communication is the defining factor of a great leader. I say this because I don't think there are any successful, memorable leaders who've been able to be great without effective communication skills. People can be leaders with a vast array of squills.
Yep.
Squills?
Oh, I love a squill.
Skills and qualities. See what I did there? I combined those two.
Perfect.
But communication is the one that is a prerequisite, mandatory component for all great leaders.
Yep.
There are other skills or abilities that might vary from person to person as strengths and weaknesses as an effective leader, but not communication.
No, non-negotiable.
Effective communication creates connection.
And clarity.
So
many C words.
So as an emerging leader, if there was something you wanted to work on to be a successful leader, make sure you have communication nailed. It's pretty damn important.
Yeah. Non-negotiable. Because of all those reasons. Effective communication is going to underpin everything that you're trying to achieve. And all of the insights start with communication. Like effective feedback is communication. Creating clarity, communication. All of these things. If you can't communicate your intent, if you can't communicate your message, you can have the best intentions and the best messages, but you're not going to be able to communicate them, so they're not going to get anywhere. I wasn't able to effectively communicate why cars and planes were different, and that's on me. That's shone a light on my communication, shortcomings. But that's something to work on. You've given me that feedback. I'm going to come back stronger than ever.
And I'm going to also acknowledge that I was not listening. It was one of those, those.
I say a lot of words, Colin. Yeah. It's true, and you can't listen to all.
It was a bit of a pseudo listen in the sense of I was listening, but at the same time trying to think what's the next one that's coming up.
Sure, yeah.
So yes,
I accept that.
Our communication did break down.
Yeah.
Did break down at number 7, but let's restore it at number 8.
I feel like it's already back, baby.
And I can't help but say this, and maybe it is an 8.5 in terms of another half lesson from me.
Ooh.
One of the things I was really struck by in 2018, and it's often the simple things that trap people or trip people up, the simple difference between what is a message and what is a conversation. So it was amazing how many times I actually illustrated that for people throughout the year, and expecting at some level for them to say, well, the old duh factor, like I knew that.
Yeah.
And yet
people don't say duh enough in business.
They don't. In fact, I don't think they say it at all.
Maybe we should bring it back. Maybe we should just have 2019 should be the year of the duh, and see how we go.
Yes.
See how that affects people.
So, interestingly, it seemed to be one of the more profound things I was saying. Yeah. So
you're obvious, Colin.
Other
people genius. That's right.
So just really quickly, a core difference there is a message is a one-way piece where you're really trying to emphasize understanding.
Yep.
It's not a negotiable piece. If you're doing compliance training and you're in onboarding someone into your organization and you need them to comply with privacy law, that's going to be a message. So your emphasis is on what will it take for this person to actually understand this.
Yeah.
Conversation so fundamentally different.
It's an exchange of ideas where hopefully there's flexibility and adaptability and the ability to compromise on different ways of thinking.
And you couldn't have said that any more beautifully. And there is a place for both. Yeah. And I think...
Got to be able to pivot.
Yes. But I think what's happening out there is people, because they are confused on those two things, they might be fundamentally delivering a message where something's not negotiable, and they're thinking the right thing to do is open this up to consultation, and that backfires.
Undermines.
And the reverse is also true.
Yep.
So thank you to Nat Fian, and thank you at many levels. Nat actually really helped, not just as a guest on Leadership of Fools, but she really shaped some of the thinking behind it and the philosophy behind it. So that could be it.
Yeah. Do I have a message? I feel like 2018 for me, the thing that I kept coming back to was to take joy in the now, which makes sense in terms of that I'm an improviser, so I deal primarily in the currency of the now. But also applying that to life and the things that I'm doing, because I feel like we often get caught up in we're heading towards something, where we're establishing goals, things we want to achieve, and we're working towards those. So we're focused much more on the end game or the end purpose, and we're not enjoying the process. And I think if we can instill that sense of also enjoying the process of achieving what we want to achieve, that makes achieving it so much easier and enjoyable.
You got me thinking just then. 2018 has also been a year for not just myself but my family, our family, where we've you hear the term decluttering a lot.
Yeah.
Interestingly, our take on decluttering is, does something bring us joy?
Yep.
And we have a lot of physical things, and I look at them and think, actually, it makes no difference to my life, and it could make some difference to someone else's life. So we've been quite charitable. Occasionally we've on-sold things.
How many kidneys you got, Colin?
Yes.
Hey? Charitable, my butt.
That is a wonderful callback, and perhaps the right moment to close. So Rick Brown,
Colin,
that's the sequel.
it was not too shabby. I mean, the dog liked the start of the podcast, but really lost interest halfway through.
Yes.
I guess we were talking about things that no longer were of interest to a dog, which could be a good recommendation.
Very much in the now, the dog. It's been wonderful. I've been delighted with the amount of contributions to Leadership Insights. Please keep them coming.
Yeah, well done, Shipsters.
Yeah.
You are all right.
Yeah, you're
know
absolutely
stuff.
all right. You're absolutely all right. And we'll sign off for now.
Farewell.
Thank you.